Hey, Matt, do you have an update on whether or not Z will be on the practice field today?
Yeah, Z will be out there today.
Mike Spofford.
Yeah, Matt. So what's the objective? What are you looking to get out of these next three practices that you're holding this week? What are you trying to do?
Well, I would say number one, making sure that we're staying in football shape, and especially with some of the guys that are coming back, it's a great opportunity to use this time effectively to up their conditioning levels. I would say also just keeping your mind sharp and then kind of reacclimating ourselves with the elements outdoors. Last week being that we practiced every day indoors, I think it's a good opportunity to get back outside where it's not quite as cozy with the temperature, even though today is like a summer day in Green Bay.
Matt Schneidman.
Matt, I know we've asked you about Nathaniel interviewing for all these jobs, but what do you think Luke's done to earn that chance now that he's going to be talking with the Broncos also?
Yeah, I think Luke's done an outstanding job. Just he's an excellent communicator, great teacher, great team guy. I think he sees the game the right way. I think he's got such a great presence about him. Players respond to him, and so it's a great opportunity for him. And another guy that we would hate to lose, but would be happy for him and his family if he gets that op.
Mark Daniels.
Hey, Matt, got me all right?
Gotcha, Mark.
And we're going to talk to John Runyon a little bit later on after practice. Can you just talk about, the steadying play he's had? I was just looking at he didn't commit a penalty. He didn't get flagged for one penalty this year.
Yeah, John's done a great job. I think our entire offensive line has really done a great job. I think Steno, Butkus do a great job of just training the right fundamentals. And those guys typically, if you're doing that, you put yourself at much less of a risk of committing penalties. And they're smart players up front, and those guys all do a great job.
Bill Huber.
Hey, Matt. Obviously, Chicago and Minnesota are looking for a coach, and Hackett's been linked to those jobs. I realize it's out of your hands, and they need to do what's best for them. But is there at least a little part of you who wishes they would go somewhere else besides those teams?
I don't worry about it too much in terms of that's something that's totally out of my control. And we compete against our friends all the time in this league, many of them, and you never want to do that, but at the same time, we all got a job to do. So it's not a shocker to me. Just they get to see us twice a year, and just how we operate and the success that we've had, I would say, on the offensive side of the ball in particular with those guys. It wouldn't be a shock for them to want to interview Hackett and or Getsy.
Steve McGargy.
Regarding your offensive line, do you have a pretty good idea of how you're going to arrange the starting five depending on Turner's health? Or is it a deal where some of those spots are still going to be up for competition this next week and a half or so?
Well, I would say they're always up for competition. Obviously, it's predicated on who's available. We definitely have a plan. I'm sure you guys would love to hear our plan, but I'm going to keep our plan secret for now.
Mike Clemens.
Sunday night, Derek Carr walks off the field after a big win for the Raiders, and he tells Michelle, you know what? Some words of encouragement I got earlier today from Aaron Rodgers helped me get through this tight ball game. And it makes me think about what you as a coach do every week as, your players get their bodies back, and then that time clock starts on Friday or Saturday before Sunday's game. Is this something that you and the coaches talk about, when to challenge the guys, when to back off, when to let a team captain speak? Talk about that motivation.
Yeah, I think it's a total feel thing. I think our captains do a great job of, echoing or coming up with their own important message. I like listening to those guys. They're very insightful. A lot of these guys have a lot of experience, and they know how to deliver great messages to our team. But I think everything is kind of circumstantial in terms of, it's a big time. I'd say there's a feel to it in terms of what do you think needs to get articulated and how you want to get that across to your team.
Tom Silverstein.
Hey, Matt, I know every year is different in terms of what you're going to do offensively, depending on the personnel, but you knew a lot of the guys coming back this year. And then all of a sudden, you don't have Bakhtiari, you lose Elton Jenkins, Tanyan goes down, all the injuries, of course. How did
Unfortunately.
Yeah, literally. How did that change what you wanted to do offensively this year? And then is there things that you didn't get to that now maybe if you have Bakhtiari and have Myers back and you can get to in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think there absolutely. There's always things like that, but I think that's our job as coaches is to take whoever you have available and try to put them in the best possible position. Certainly, there's a framework and a foundation that's been laid in terms of schematically, really in all three phases, but you can't be afraid to deviate from that at times and adjust. I mean, that's what this game is all about. It's making the necessary adjustments to really try to show what your guys do well and then put them out there, not to say that you're not going to work on things that maybe aren't perceived strengths, because we're constantly challenging these guys to get into uncomfortable situations and have that great attitude about it, and that's really how you grow. So, but yeah, I would say it's just constantly evolving to try to stay one step ahead of the competition and put your guys in the best possible spot.
Rob Domofsky.
Matt, is it better or worse that it's harder to block guys from interviewing for jobs?
I mean, what do you mean better or worse?
Well, I mean, in the past, you could keep guys a little bit easier by, saying, no, they can't interview for a coordinator job or can't interview for this or that.
Yeah, I don't know if that necessarily breeds the type of culture that you want in your building, because if guys are constantly feeling like they're being held back or repressed, like that's just going to build up negative feelings to where they're at that moment in time. I think that it's great for these guys to get that experience, number one, to go out and talk to other teams. Certainly, yeah. Is it a double-edged sword? Absolutely, no doubt about it. I mean, I'd hate to lose any of these guys, but at the same time, I try to put myself in their shoes, and I can remember it wasn't that long ago that I was in that spot, and people afforded me those opportunities. So I think that we have a responsibility to help continue to empower our assistant coaches and put them in positions to help them grow. And ultimately, a lot of these guys, their goal is to be in that seat, to be the head coach, to run their own team. And so I think it's part of our duty to, like I said, help these guys grow and put them in potential position for their own opportunity.
Aaron Nagler.
Coach, given that you could lose a guy or two on your staff and you'll probably be in the market, so to speak, interviewing people, at this level at the NFL, everyone knows ball. So what is the thing you look for? What's the number one thing that differentiates a coach you want to hire as opposed to a guy who maybe is great at X's and O's, but not this other thing?
I think it's just how they collectively fit into our group. I've said it many times, give me the person first, the coach second, because there's a lot of adversity that takes place in our game. And if you don't have guys that are about the right things and can kind of, for the betterment of the team, set their egos aside and their agendas aside and be all in for the team, then it's hard to get through those tough moments. And we're very, very fortunate that we have a lot of great guys on the staff, not only on the staff, but in that locker room, because everybody has their own goals and aspirations. And I think that's what drives people. But also, do you have enough self-awareness? Do you have enough humility to kind of put that aside for the betterment of the team? And we've got so many people that have done that. And I think that's a big reason why we've been able to achieve some of the success that we've had, and hopefully we can continue to, bring in people like that if we are in one of those situations where we happen to lose a guy or two.
Ryan Wood.
Matt, you're a quarterback's coach for 7 years in the league, 8 year at Notre Dame. Would you have been ready to be a head coach going from that job to from that job to the head coaching, or did you need that coordinator bridge to be ready?
Yeah, I think that for me personally, I think I absolutely needed that. And that's a big reason why I actually left LA after that 2017 season, because I had just interviewed for Tennessee and I knew I wasn't quite where I know I wanted to be. And so I took that chance. But I think everybody's a little bit different. I don't think you necessarily have to do that. I think, I don't want to speak for you, but if you're alluding to Getsy, do I think he's ready? I think absolutely. I think he's done a great job. I think he's a great communicator. He's got great command. I think people believe in him. He's genuine. He's a good person. He cares about people. He's got all the qualities that you look for, I think, when you think about a leader.
Bill Huber.
Man, just put aside the health visit area. So I think for all of us who have backgrounds, you kind of know how that goes. Assuming he's healthy for the next 2 weeks, what are you looking for?
Well, that's a tough question to give you a specific answer right now. We're just trying to get him to a position where we feel comfortable, where not only can he go out there and compete at a high level, but also, he hasn't been really in this system other than one game. So we got to make sure that he understands his job responsibility first and foremost, because as we've seen so many times throughout the course of the season, when we have all 11 guys on the same page doing their responsibility and owning their roles, I think our defense can be pretty good. And if you have some undisciplined play, then you get beat. So, yeah, I think it's just we want to reacclimate him into practice and see how that goes and see how it all meshes before we solidify our plan. And luckily, we not only have this week, but we have next week to continue to get him up to speed, so to speak.
MK Burgess.
Matt, you guys were in this position last year, and obviously we've talked about how the lack of fans made it different. But what is different about having the number one seed this year that you think that gives you guys the advantage?
Well, I mean, certainly you love playing in your home stadium when it's rocking, and we're going to need the fans to do their best to provide that support for us and be loud and not sell their tickets to anybody else other than Green Bay Packer fans. But I just think that nothing's guaranteed, and that's something we talked about with the team. You got to go out and earn it. It doesn't matter. So you're the number one seed. You get an opportunity this week to not only kind of rest, recover, rehab, both mentally and physically, but you got to use that time wisely as well to making sure that we're staying sharp, that we're staying in shape, and we got to put the work in. That's the bottom line. And not only that, you put the work in, then you got to go out and perform. So we know that it's not going to be easy. It never is. And we've just got to continue to take it with the same mindset, the same approach of trying to get better each and every day, taking it one day at a time, one game at a time.
We'll do two more. Matt Schneidman.
Matt, is Billy going to practice today?
Billy will be out there in individual.
And last one, Tom Silverstein.
Hey, Matt, when you do the so-called self-scout this week, how do you yourself take a step back when you're looking at the offense and really get an idea of what it is that you want to do better? I mean, are you able to step away from that and make that kind of judgment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you look at really everything. You obviously run a lot of reports. I rely on, this is going to probably make some of you guys laugh, some of the analytical data on how efficient we are. You're always looking at that, but then you go to the tape and try to figure out, okay, either why were we successful or why weren't we successful in certain situations, certain plays. Maybe you look at the tape and you're seeing what the defense is seeing and really what other plays can we build off of certain looks, or it goes back to that complementary plays. So that's something that we'll take this week to look at, because right now, I mean, we could play potentially 4 different teams, so you don't really know who you're going to play. Certainly, we do dive into, I would say, each team just to try to get a little bit of a head start, because, I mean, there's a great possibility potentially, no matter who wins, that you're playing with, I guess, 6 days between their game and when we could potentially play. So you lose 1 day, I guess, of preparation. So, you know, we want to get a head start on that is all I'm saying.
If I could follow real quick, how much tape of your offense do you actually watch during this week?
Quite a bit. I'll watch it. I'll watch everything, especially like towards the back half of the season, and certainly with potentially getting some of these guys back up front, and a guy like, you know, Randall. We'll look at some of the things that we did with those players early in the year, that maybe that we've kind of put on the back burner. So you're really looking at everything.